Williams. What the hell's going on? The only team of 11 that isn't going to participate in the Barcelona shakedown that is a test, but isn't called a test, it's definitely called a shakedown at all. Even Cadillac, who didn't exist about 4 weeks ago, are there. With all the hype, with all the talk of breaking everything, with all the focus fixation on 2026 and beyond, it certainly does not look good, does it? However, looks can be deceptive. Is it time for panic stations, or should we trust the process? And why doesn't James Vowles know the weight of his car? Because that seems kind of important. My name's Tommo. Let's talk about it. Right, I want to start this video with a bunch of quotes, right? Williams just put out a video, an update, a long-awaited update, in fact, on their YouTube channel, straight from the mouth of team principal James Vowles, addressing the absence and what the plan is going into the Bahrain pre-season test and the start of the 2026 F1 season. The reason for their absence, to quote, delays to our car program. This clearly wasn't our original plan. It was painful. We intended to be on track in Barcelona. It is a result of our determination to push the limits of performance, which is certainly the most ambitious way of looking at their absence. You know, they're just bringing so much performance that they just got, you know, head in the clouds. Oh wait, we've got this shakedown in Barcelona. So much innovation, we got carried away. This is what we're talking about, you know, with Aston Martin only making Thursday and Friday because, you know, Newey and his massive brain is just pushing that envelope, pushing those limits, and sometimes you overstep them. That's all part of the process. Could we have pushed all out to be at Barcelona at all costs? Yes, but it would have compromised the rest of our pre-season and the bigger picture. And this certainly tells us how Williams view this shakedown relative to the actual pre-season test in Bahrain, and of course the season opener in Melbourne, right? You are prioritizing, there is time still, and clearly a decision was made to take some short-term pain and some PR discomfort, I guess, in the pursuit of, as he says here, the bigger picture. We had a number of issues that are now resolved. There's never been a problem with our chassis tests that have been passed many weeks ago. Now, there has been talk about the car failing a crash test, which it is confirmed it did. That is one of these issues that have been resolved. And of course, all teams have issues. Nothing goes completely clean from an R&D car development point of view. Of course not. Whichever crash test the car failed was not a chassis one, but maybe nose cone. It definitely failed one. But again, as far as James is concerned, that's just a blip. We are ready to run at the official testing day at Bahrain, which is definitely the most important of the two. Not only it being closer to the start of the season, but also from a visibility point of view, because Bahrain, of course, will be fully televised. And that does matter to the teams. It matters from a morale point of view. It matters from a sponsor point of view as well. It would have been way more embarrassing if this was a fully broadcast Barcelona test and the only team not to show up would be Williams. That would be an L. Instead, Williams have been running this VTT virtual track testing program where at the factory they've got a rig bolted on the engine and the gearbox and are running simulated sessions through the real hardware, right? So they are doing something, but nothing can replicate the real thing, because you're not only stress testing the car itself, you've got the pit crew, you've got the strategists, you've got the communication with the driver and the driver's understanding these new regulations. You know, this is not ideal from Carlos Sainz or Alex Albon's point of view as well, getting up to speed with these new cars who, you know, we've seen Liam talk about this, say it's a very, very different car to drive. Lewis has talked about this car being the biggest departure, biggest change in regulation one year to another in his entire time in the sport. This Barcelona shakedown is about so much more than just seeing how many laps you can get out of your car. That is important, of course, but it's not the be all and end all. Trust, we are working diligently and incredibly hard. Trust is the word, and James Vowles has done a lot to manifest trust amongst, I think, the team internally, but also the fan base and even non-Williams fans just looking in from the outside, being like this guy knows what he's doing. And the challenge is to take a scenario which isn't ideal like this and somehow come out with even more faith in the Williams master plan, which so far has gone very good. I mean, this is a massive departure from where the car was in 2019, which did miss the pre-season test, but it was the proper pre-season test, and also the car was really slow, and also the car was illegal. So yes, this might not be ideal now, but it's certainly way better than it used to be. Now, we did get a bit more info from Andrew Benson at the BBC, who did a bit more of a detailed article, and we got a bit more of a quote out of James regarding this virtual track testing thing. So the evaluation of it was that for running in a cold, damp Barcelona against doing a rig test, against a spare situation, and frankly, there was 0 points for running in a shakedown test. We made the decision, and I stand by it, that the right thing to do is make sure we are turning up at Bahrain correctly prepared and prepared in Melbourne as well. And look, back in Williams slightly here, right? Compared to Red Bull / Racing Bulls, new power unit, Audi, new power unit, and Aston Martin, new power unit, and they definitely need to make at least the 2 days, otherwise they're in big trouble. At least Williams are running in the Mercedes PU, which is getting loads of mileage. 384 laps on a Mercedes PU was done just on Wednesday across the Alpine, McLaren and Mercedes car, right? That is significant, and that all helps. Everyone gains from that who runs a Mercedes power unit. So far, so good from that point of view. If Audi had missed this test, if Aston Martin had missed this test, if the Red Bull cars had missed this test, it would have been a bigger deal, in my opinion. Not so bad for Williams. However, I am just really surprised that this was allowed to happen, given how absolutely on the nose Williams were in terms of we are all about 26. We're not developing this car in 25. We are throwing the kitchen sink at this new regulation set. To not make the first test is pretty criminal, because yes, you can argue pushing boundaries, but you would have thought with all that time to put into this, they would have created a schedule that would build plenty of margin into these lead times and make sure that they are there. If Cadillac can be there, if all the other 10 teams can be there and they're the only one, that does not fill me with confidence for Williams going forward. It just doesn't. And that's forced them into a very uncomfortable position, really. And it's not ideal from the sponsors either. Like, we're thinking about this commercially, right? Atlassian are not going to be happy. And what I will say, even though recent years they have struggled relative, you're not going to see Mercedes do this kind of thing. And I think this goes to show that Williams still do have a way to go. It has come on leaps and bounds, absolutely. But being at the operational peak of where a Mercedes and McLaren, I'll chuck a Ferrari in there as well, a Red Bull, of course. If by your own admission your systems are not yet fit for purpose, they are clearly not ready to fight with the big dogs in F1, and that's gutting to hear. Last year, I think operationally they were the most inconsistent team on the grid. They couldn't have a double good weekend. It was always either Alex or Carlos who had some kind of issue. Sainz at the start of the year, Albon at the end of the year, seemingly. And yeah, this just kind of adds to that growing evidence, at least circumstantial evidence, that they are still experiencing the growing pains, right? They are yet to get to that point. They are still growing to get there, and it's hurting. Because then onto the overweight thing, like the BBC chat did reveal something pretty odd to me, with James saying that it was impossible to respond to the murmurings in the media regarding the car being overweight because it was not possible to know until the car was assembled. Sorry? Like, that is clearly ridiculous. Every single component on an F1 car is measured to the finest gram. The tolerances in this sport are like no other sport. We've seen cars get disqualified for fractions of a millimeter on a skid plank on the bottom of the car, right? Or DRS being fractionally too open or whatever it is. And you're saying that you don't know the weight because you don't know what it is until you put the car together. What? No amount of testing sensors or any kind of paraphernalia on the car should detract from your ability as a team to understand exactly what the net weight of your car is at any given time in any given spec. I've got a lot of love for James, a lot of respect for James. I think he's done wonders with that team. I think he speaks very, very well. He instills a lot of confidence, and I still very much have faith. But no one's perfect. Ethan, I've come out with some waffle sometimes. Like when he was being asked about an 11th team on the grid. What was it? year before last, and he was like, well, there's only so many sponsors to go around, so I'm kind of against it. What, as in like every single brand in the world who could possibly be interested in sponsoring an F1 team is already sponsoring them. So there's no more, right? No more, James, yeah? You know, being at weight is really important. The lower the weight you are, time management, acceleration, top speed, corner speed, literally everything improves. We saw the Alfa Romeo Sauber have a very strong start to 2022 because they had their car right at the weight limit from the start, but they struggled to add performance, and as everyone else got their car weight down but still had a stronger aerodynamic platform, they overtook them. That's the position Williams might find themselves in at the start of the season. Overweight compared to the most, but if they can deliver a solid aerodynamic platform, then as soon as they iterate components to get weight off of them and bring that weight down, they should be in a good spot. Two top tier drivers, absolutely, in Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, who again will be desperate to get on track and will be disappointed, no doubt, that they are not participating in this Barcelona test. They will be gagging to get on track in Bahrain, and I really hope James knows what he's doing here. He is a first-time team principal. He's gonna make mistakes. Pat Fry leading up the technical team. These are only human beings. There's clearly been some errors of judgment here that have resulted in this scenario, and I just hope they find their way through it. Because for many of us, Williams were a dark horse for this season to be right at the sharp end, and things, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Has this been enough to put you off the Williams master plan, or has this galvanized your support and belief and hope that the Vowles method will come good? My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.